Hi guys, welcome back to Prospect Channel TV. Thank you for always stopping by. If you're just joining us for the first time, please kindly subscribe to this channel and don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Abeg. Waiting you are about to watch could shock you. What is actually going on in Finland? The Finland government versus Simon Ekpa and Nigerian government. Okay guys, let's go there. I will be right back. Thank you.
In this video, we shall be discussing every single thing that happened in the courtroom today in the Hmmm District Court today. Today being the 30th of May of 2025, the hearing and the trial of Simon has kicked off and continued in essence. And in this video, we shall be analyzing and critically showcasing every single thing discussed or debated in the courtroom session today. So first thing first, we are going to use some illustrative pictures and videos to better portray our point. These illustrative pictures are not from the courtroom. These are just for illustration purposes only. With that out of the way, let's kickstart this video in essence. Yes. So the courtroom session began around 11:30 a.m. this morning. Mr. Simon, together with his legal counsel team, were all present in the courtroom and on time. The court session started by Simon rendering a written speech. Just in case you don't understand, the court session started by Simon. Simon was called upon to tender a written speech. He has prepared this speech a couple of hours back before rendering it in the courtroom session. We knew this was going to happen because BBC Pidgin predicted the fact that Simon will be called upon to render a written speech, and this written speech will be made public. In the coming hours. Yes. Moving on swiftly, the lawyer representing the government of Finland, after hearing the speech coming from Simon, he reacted and he corrected some points in the whole speech. We are going to skip the whole process and the speech of Simon and go straight to the most interesting and to the most fascinating part of this whole video, because today the courtroom session was heated. The courtroom session was very, very heated. Why? Well, the lawyer from the government presented a witness, and this witness happens to be a relative of Mr. Simon. But then we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's continue and let's go back to the courtroom and see every single thing that happened and played out this morning. After the lawyer representing the government reacted and responded to the speech written by Simon, the lawyer from the government asked the judge if he could proceed with the agenda for the day. The judge nodded and said, "Yes, you can. Permit me to bring up my very first witness for the day. The testimonies from this witness will help navigate our course, and this is coming from the lawyer representing the government." He asked the judge to permit him bring up his very first witness, and the judge was like, "Yes, please feel free to bring up your witness so as to help us or carry out our activity for the day." The moment the judge gave the lawyer representing the country a green light, he brought up his very first witness, and this witness is codenamed T2, which probably might mean testifier number 2. Yes, the lawyers from the government said that T2 is a close relative to the defendant, and T2 witnessed everything firsthand, and that is why he is here, or she is here, to testify against the defendant, who is Mr. Simon. Well, for context, in our previous video released yesterday, we made mention of the fact that the lawyer representing the government was going to bring a relative of Simon, and we believe that this relative happens to be the brother of Simon's ex-wife. So let's go back to the courtroom and see how everything played out the moment the testifier took to the stand. Back in the courtroom, the lawyer from the government said, "Permit me, my lord, to call upon T2 to take the stand." "Go ahead," says the judge. T2 walked up to the stand and did all necessary rites there to be done as a testifier. The lawyer from the government asked T2, "Are you here by your own free will?" T2 replied by saying, "Yes, I am here by my own free will." "Were you advised or somewhat requested to testify against this man, the defendant?" And T2 replied by saying, "No, I came here by my own free will. Nobody forced or coerced me to be here." "Very good," says the lawyer from the government. And he asked T2, "What do you know about this man?" while pointing at Mr. Simon, the defendant. And T2 replied by saying he's a close family member. "Is that all you know about him?" asked the lawyer from the government. T2 replied by saying he's also a family member. "I know so much about him." And the lawyer asked, "Tell me what you know about him. Be very brief, please." T2 replied by saying, "I know he's a politician here in this country. I know he's a lawyer and a prime minister of a certain group domiciled in Nigeria. So before we continue with the whole court briefing, what do we think is currently happening here? Well, at this point, we knew that something isn't right. T2 is here to testify against Simon, but he's only listing out the publicly known facts of Simon by saying he's a lawyer, politician, and a prime minister of a group. At this point, we knew that there's a big problem waiting ahead, and we were not wrong. Well, let's go back to the courtroom and see what played out afterwards. The lawyer from the government asked T2, "You said he's a leader or prime minister of a group in Nigeria. What do you know about this group?" T2 replied by saying that Simon lives comfortably in Lati and issue commands to the homeland from Finland. I know that he once asked people to sit at home for 2 weeks straight, and if anybody disobeys, that person will be killed. T2 also went a step further to claim that one time when I visited him in his house, when he visited Simon in his house on the 11th of July of 2023, when Mr. Simon ordered for a 2-week sit at home. When I arrived in his house, at some point, Simon received a phone call and he went to a different part of the house to receive that or answer that phone call. I made videos of this man in that call conversation. In the conversation, he was asking people to send individuals who failed to disobey the sit at home to be sent to their maker, which means to be killed. I also have video evidence of this man threatening to kill the Nigerian army in so many occasions. I also have receipt obtained from his financial officer where this man sent funds for the purchase of arms in his region. I also have series of evidences that will be presented after hearing from the defendant's lawyer. Well, before we continue, what do we think is currently happening right now in the court session? Well, T2 has been prepared or briefed by the lawyer from the government on what to say and when to say it and how to present it. T2 definitely must have recorded Simon back in 2023 without Simon even knowing. This is something Simon himself must have forgotten entirely. T2 also claimed to have other evidence and receipts which will be tendered pending on the reactions and actions from Simon's lawyer. This is a smart move from T2 and the lawyer. This definitely has placed Simon's lawyer in a tight corner because he doesn't know what's coming next. Well, let's go back to the courtroom and see everything that followed suit afterwards. The lawyer from the government asked Simon's lawyer if he would want to cross-examine T2 because the next batch of evidence and statements will follow after his cross-examinations. Simon's lawyer said, "No, I will not cross-examine T2 until he is done." The lawyer from the government asked a very funny question to Simon's lawyer, which made the courtroom laugh. The lawyer from the government asked Simon's lawyer, "Are you scared?" Well, let's analyze what we think is currently happening here. As you can all see, this is a mind game being played by the two lawyers. One is being offensive and the other one is calm and being defensive in nature. So what do we think is currently going on here? Simon's lawyer is waiting for the perfect time to jump in, perfect time to throw all of the evidence coming from T2 to the bin, or he's actually scared and don't know how to defend his particular case. But then let's find out. Let's go back to the courtroom and see what played out afterwards. Yes, the lawyer from the government asked, "Are you scared?" And this question was directed to Simon's lawyer. He responded by saying, "Why should I be? Are you here to make us scared, or are you here to testify or ask your witness to testify? Are you here to put fear in my client? If this is your aim and ambition, I see no reason why we are all here seated and listening to your witness." The lawyer from the government said, "I'm only asking a question, but if you are scared, kindly tell us so that we can get an ambulance stand by and ready." Simon's lawyer replied by saying, "My lord, as you can see, this man and his witness are only here to waste our time without presenting actual facts and data. He says his witness have more evidence. What is stopping them from presenting or stating this whole evidence in the courtroom? My lord, if T2 is done with their testimony, they should signify and let us move on to the next course of action." The judge replied by asking the lawyer from the government, "Are you done with T2?" The lawyer said, "No, for now." "What else do you need?" said the judge. "We need more time," replied by the lawyer representing the government. And the judge said, "You have your time. Please get it going." Let's analyze what is currently happening here. As we can all see, the judge has placed the lawyer from the government and T2 in a position that they did not actually plan for. And now they have no other choice but to present all the evidence that they have against Simon. Back to the courtroom. The lawyer from the government asked T2, "What else do you have to say about this man? I mean, what else do you have on him?" T2 replied by saying, "This man, when he first came to Finland, he operated a law firm with a fake document. I can present this document to you if you want to see." This is where Simon's lawyer had to step in immediately. "My lord, The issue of my clients having an unofficial document used in operating a law firm here in this country has been trashed out already long time ago. I see no reason why this council are here wasting our time with a case file that has been trashed and already closed. The judge asked the lawyer from the government, "What else do your witness have to say or give testimonies on?" The lawyer replied by saying, "That's all for now." So let's analyze what is currently happening right now in the courtroom. As you can see, Simon's lawyer has helped in diluting or preventing T2 from bringing up old case files. And at the same time, the lawyer now knows that T2 have no other evidence or video or audio recordings on his client. This is a time to be offensive. Now let's go back to the courtroom and see what played out afterwards. Simon's lawyer asked the judge, "Can I cross-examine T2?" The presiding judge said, "Yes, feel free. You're very free to cross-examine T2." "Thank you, my lord," replied by the lawyer, and he also asked T2, "You said you visited my client on the 11th of July of 2023. Is that correct?" "Yes," said T2. "And you said you recorded him. Am I correct?" T2 replied by saying, "Yes, you are correct." "Good. So you visited my client in his own house on the 11th of July of 2023 and you recorded him without his consent. Is that correct?" "Yes." "Very good," says the lawyer. "Do you know that it is generally illegal to record someone in their home without their consent? This is referred to as sakakuntelu." He used a Finnish word to describe the fact that you're not allowed to record somebody in their own house. He also went a step further to claim that according to section 183 of the Finnish Criminal Code, secret recordings are prohibited unless at least one party involved in the conversation gives consent. This means that if you are not part of the conversation, you cannot record it without permission. "Were you part of the conversation?" asked Simon's lawyer to T2. T2 replied by saying, "I was part of it." Simon's lawyer cut him off and said, "Please answer my questions with yes or no." At this point, the lawyer from the government tried objecting. His objection was allowed by the presiding judge. The lawyer from the government said, "There may be specific circumstances where recording is allowed, such as public spaces, or if the recording is for legitimate purposes like security. So my client recorded Simon for his own security." "Very good," says Simon's lawyer. "So you are saying T2 recorded Simon for security reasons. Nice one." The lawyer turned to T2 and said, "Did my client threaten you at any point in time, or have he ever threatened you?" "No," replied T2. "Did you feel like your life was in danger at any point in my client's residence?" "My life was not in danger, but other people's life was." Simon's lawyer followed by saying, "Finland has implemented the General Data Protection Regulation known as the GDPR, which includes strict rules about personal data and personal privacy. Recording someone without their consent can violate these laws. Are you aware?" "No," replied T2. That is when the lawyer from the government objected by saying, "This law was not fully implemented as of 2023. Simon's lawyer smiled and replied, "The General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR) was adopted by the European Parliament and the Council of the European Union on the 14th of April of 2016, and it became effective on the 25th of May 2018. In Finland, the GDPR superseded the previous Personal Data Act of 1999 and the Act on the Data Protection Board and Data Protection Ombudsman on the same effective date, May 25th of 2018. Additionally, Finland implemented a supplementary act known as the Data Protection Act of Finland, which entered into force on the 1st of January of 2023, which is months before T2 visited Simon, my client. At this point, the lawyer from or representing the government had nothing to say or back in this particular claims coming from the lawyer of Simon. Well, the whole court session continued, and if we have to cover every single thing that happened today, it's going to take us up to 30 to 1 hour to fully make this video. So we are going to cut the whole conversation here at this particular point in time, and a part 2 will be released in subsequent time.
Hi guys, thank you very much for staying to the end of this video. If you understand what this our brother don't talk now concerning this Simon Ekpa trial in Finland. So now here I go drop am abeg, share this video, make it go viral so that Biafrans could understand wetin dey happen. Thank you. Bye for now.